In today's video, we're going to be taking a look here at the tropics. We do have a high chance of development near Central America there, as you can see. We also have Hurricane Tammy we're going to be going over today. And then we're going to dive into the upcoming pattern. And I think the primary focus today is going to be on some pretty major winter storms that are moving into the northwest and even the southwest of the nation. This is going to bring heavy snowfall on multiple different occasions, which of course we're going to go over the total snowfall for that. And then the temperature pattern. There is going to be colder air for sure moving in with those snowfall events, but over time they're going to start to spread their way eastward, and it is going to be a very, very major cool down for the eastern states as we approach the very end of October into the beginning of November. So we're going to be going over all of these things today. Before we do so, be sure to check out Prestige Weather in the description and pinned comment down below. We did just release our third winter forecast over there for early access that you can check out today. We also do weekly consulting calls and other consulting services within that exclusive community. You can check it out for $5 a month, again in the description and the pinned comment down below. Let's just dive into things, and as we take a look here at the entire 7-day graphical tropical weather outlook, you can see that we do have, again, Hurricane Tammy, which in a moment we'll take a look at the cone forecast for that one. We have seen an upgrade, a pretty sizable one at that, for this area of disturbance, an 80% chance of development over the next 48 hours, as well as an 80% chance of development over the next 7 days. This one I have really just failed on because I've said again and again over time that I think this one has a very low chance of development. At the time, it was only a yellow and it had maybe 10 or 20% chance of development. I just found that it had a short window of time and it was in a very unfavorable area. Despite those two things, it has pretty much, by this point, just beaten out the odds, and it still looks like it's going to develop. So that is one where I will say I was wrong on that, because the chance of development has just continued to climb there. Despite the very odd circumstances, this is a very interesting storm. Again, it's always when I do get something wrong like that, I do apologize for that. It is the weather and things are very unpredictable. I can only give you the best of my knowledge that I have, and to me, this one had every reason not to develop, yet it has still overcome that. And again, that is just how the weather can be. But of course, I'm not ashamed to change my outlook, and I'm always going to give you guys the most up-to-date information. Even if that makes me wrong, I'm always going to be just telling you the latest and the highest accuracy information possible, of course. Now, as we move to the cone forecast here for Hurricane Tammy, you can see it expects to remain a hurricane through the late evening on Wednesday there. So we do expect to see that one just remain at that hurricane status as it kind of continues to track northeastward. It does take a western turn, as you can see, and almost turns directly towards Bermuda. At that point, it's going to be at tropical storm intensity, but it is going to be at post-tropical cyclone status, it appears, and that would be around Saturday morning into Saturday afternoon time frame. It does have a pretty wide variety of options where it can go very far south or very far north of Bermuda, but the very middle of the track would be almost a direct hit of Bermuda as a pretty minor storm, but still an impactful one. So we're going to continue to watch this very closely, of course, here on the channel. As we just move into the upcoming storminess, you can see by the time we're reaching later this afternoon, we have some storms ongoing. Nothing crazy though, so we're just going to glide past that towards Tuesday afternoon here on October 24th. And you can see some pretty persistent snowfall here throughout southwestern Canada and the northwestern United States. We're seeing some snowfall taking place. Also, a lot of storminess here in between the two air masses. We've talked about that for multiple days now. But basically what we have taken place is colder air moving in a motion like this. So drawing that arrow there. And we have warmer air kind of moving in a motion like this. And within there as well, we have some motion of this nature. So something like this is how the cold and warm air is moving. So when you see them kind of moving and coming together and then just creating this surge of a northeastward motion here, that is what's driving this Mexican and Central America moisture up into the central United States in a hurry. So we see humid air, we see storms brewing. This is going to be a pretty stormy pattern as a result of this motion that we're seeing with the jet stream in general. As we reach towards Thursday, or better yet, Wednesday afternoon, that's going to be the 25th, we see heavier snowfall developing here throughout states like Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Montana, into North Dakota and Wyoming. We continue to see that storminess through the central states. By the time we reach Thursday afternoon on October 26th, we see a 999 millibar low pressure center there over eastern Colorado. And we see pretty heavy snowfall taking place here throughout states like Utah, Wyoming, Montana, North Dakota, and even Idaho here as well. So that storminess in the form of snowfall continues there. And then by Friday, that finally moves up into Canada. We still see in this area that's in between a lot of storminess taking place. We see colder air actually diving further southward here in the northwest, but a quieter day overall. For Saturday, we already see that next storm developing. This is going to be Saturday, October 28th. And as you can see, 999 millibar low pressure center over eastern Colorado here. And what we're seeing is plenty of snowfall developing here throughout Montana, Wyoming, now even South Dakota, Nebraska there, North Dakota, Minnesota, portions of northern Utah as well. Snowfall is really, really trending in here in the long range, and we're seeing it in the short to medium range, but as we reach the long range, we continue to see us getting battered down with heavy snowfall. Let's just take a look at Sunday, October 29th. And again, we continue to see these snow showers, heavier snowfall for some of the mountaintops, even by late this weekend. And by Monday afternoon, we see that that snowfall is for the most part coming to an end. We do see warmer air building in for the kind of west coast. Jet stream is doing about like this by this point. So we see this trough kind of tilted back towards the west at the bottom of it. So I'd say the tilt is something like this, but this is probably going to continue to get pushed eastward. So we're going to see this just move further and further eastward. We're still seeing very warm air surging in the eastern states. We mentioned in our prestige weather discussions for the Mid-Atlantic and the Northeast how through this week at least, so Monday the 23rd through the end Sunday the 29th, we expect warm air to just prevail for the entire week, and also no precipitation for the most part is expected for either the Northeast or the Mid-Atlantic. It's very interesting. But we can see the areas in between this warmth. Again, it's the same thing as it was earlier the week prior, but we see that this jet stream is moving like this, and then we're continuing to see this heavy, heavy, heavy precipitation in between right along that jet stream. So that is continuing to be the case. By Tuesday, we see this moving further and further eastward. That's going to be Halloween Day. And by Wednesday, November 1st, what we end up seeing is a strong positive PNA with this cold air diving into the east. So we see this very cold air, even enough to cause some lake effect snowfall here throughout the Great Lakes and some snow showers here throughout New England and the rest of the Northeast. So this is going to be a very, very potent cool down, to say the least. I don't want to downplay it at all. Total precipitation here, the only area that I would really pinpoint as above average precipitation for the most part is Texas, all the way up through into the Midwest, the Great Lakes, and even up into eastern Canada and the northeast of the United States. So again, this is going to continue to be, I'll draw out what the jet stream is going to be doing most of this model run, but something like this, and you can tell that that heavy precipitation just kind of hitches a ride here on the jet stream from the Gulf of Mexico, and that is what's allowing for that moisture to just get surged northward into the Great Lakes, the eastern regions of Canada again, and the Northeast. So it's a very interesting setup, but that is why it's kind of jumping on the train and moving northward into those areas that typically are getting drier for this time of year. The total snowfall, no surprise here, is really, really ramping up. After every single model run, it always looks worse and worse and worse. And sure enough, this probably is looking like more than we even saw yesterday. Anywhere in the grays is a dusting. If anything, blues will be 2 to 6 inches of snowfall, purples 6 to 10, pinks 10 to 20 there. And then your pastel blue is going to be 20 to 30 inches of snowfall. And then your pinks there, which we do have a little bit of the pinks within those lighter blues. I call it pastel pink. There within the Wyoming and Montana area, that is going to be 30 inches plus, so above 2 feet of snowfall. Certainly a very, very snowy pattern is on the way for the Rockies and the Cascades, and a little bit there for the Sierra Nevadas as well. So the skiing season is really going to get going here for those areas. Now, the temperature pattern, we can see we're holding on to some colder air until about the Wednesday time frame, and this is when we move into a classic negative PNA pattern. And what I mean by that is Pacific North American Oscillation. Negative means colder temperatures out here. And what this does is Well, for one thing, I'm going to draw this just a little bit more accurately to what it is, and it stretches all the way southward down to Mexico. And that warm air that's typically down there has to go somewhere. So what it does is it moves to the east where we don't see that cool down, as you can see. So these areas in the west directly impact the areas in the east, and all this warm air is forced to surge up northward into the eastern states. It's kind of like a balancing act here. And what we're going to see over time is we're going to see the opposite begin to develop. We stay warm through Sunday, as I mentioned earlier, so all the way through the end of the week. But Monday, we start to see this thing get on the move in a big way. So we see the cold front here, a very, very potent one. We go from probably 10 degrees above average to these magentas, which is 25 to 35 degrees below normal. So potentially around a 50-degree swing with this cold front, which is on the very, very severe side of things for a cold front. We see that warmth hangs on to the southeast coast all the way through midweek probably, so sometime around Halloween Day into the 1st of November. And what we end up seeing is this, it's not looking as east base yet, but we have a very, very potent cold air mass set up at least over the central states, and it does look to be on the move further eastward. The one thing I will say that I am seeing kind of develop is this doesn't look like a very positive PNA out west. You would expect to see very warm temperature anomalies all the way along this western coast. We are not seeing that, and I think this is why the model is starting to show this more over the central states than anything. If we had a very, very warm air mass for all of these areas, it would really force this cold air to move all the way to the eastern seaboard. Now, it obviously has cooled down significantly from the peak of that warm up here, but it's not this very potent cold air set up over the eastern seaboard directly. So we're going to have to watch and see how this develops. I still think this is the end of the model run, but I still think beyond this point, it would be on the move eastward afterwards. But only time will be able to tell. We will continue to track this with you guys daily. We do upload every single day, so be sure to subscribe for more daily weather uploads just like this one. You can even hit the bell icon for daily notifications when we upload so you never miss one. Be sure to like the video if you did enjoy it, leave a comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.